1. Defend our cause.
Hey, we gotta stop it!
Bro, what the fuck? I swear to God, the fucking preview is smoother. The fucking preview is like smoother than my actual game. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Stop that freaking thing! Stand on the freaking path! Hey, we gotta stop it! Let's stop that freaking thing!
The payload is nearing a checkpoint. The enemy has received additional time.
Gotta stop the car! Stay to the side. Ooh, yeah! Gotta stop the car! Medic! Get on the path, fellas!
Backing up.
Let's stop that freaking thing!
Oh, that's fucked up. What the shit? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Gotta stop the cart! stop it! Dominated, Chucklehead. Let's stop that freaking thing!
Bloody bogan!
I am Todd!
You failed.
Got all bloody day. Let's do it!
Why would you do that for that guy?
Because 7 years ago he had a big shot.
There's another part that I want to stay on this too, real quick. I don't know necessarily, if the players are looking around going, wait a minute, did we fuck the middle class here a little bit? Like, it's still a 50-50 revenue split.
They did.
But what does this mean for, like, my group of players? And then the other part of that is, well, hey, the stars are the stars, and they're actually still undervalued, and they deserve to make all the money they possibly can. But this feels a lot like the lack of cap smoothing that happened prior to Durant signing with the Warriors, where it was very clear either the players didn't understand it or were told something different. And Michelle Roberts, who did an awful job in explaining
Terrible.
this,
The
and
stream
people in
works.
the media kept writing about how amazing it was, and if you criticized her, then you were criticizing her for the wrong reasons. I actually think the real bias was that it was funny that people were defending her, and then if you weren't like Team Michelle Roberts, then there was something wrong with you. And I've talked to
Then you're
enough
a
former
MAGA.
players. Right. And then I talked to enough players I feel really comfortable with this. And for whatever reason, like, I love John Wall's quote about Reggie Jackson so fucking much when all that went down, when Alan Crabb and Evan Turner, and look, we were just talking with CJ about this. He's like, I benefited from it and it was wrong. And that's why this time around, we should have smoothed it out. He's the president of the Players Association. I benefited from it and realized in the moment how wrong it was. And I wanted to make sure this didn't happen again. All right.
Yeah.
And John Wall goes like, Reggie Jackson, I make the same as Reggie Jackson. It was the
Right.
best quote. So I think there's a lesson in there. And I promise I'll get to the point. Whenever we talk about like environmental stuff, right? I'm of the mindset that you're not going to get everybody on board until your water's brown and your kids like are orange. Right? That's just the way we are. We can be told something's happening, but we don't understand it until it's actually happened. And in the non-cap smoothing out, you were told philosophically what would happen. It had to happen to you. It had to happen to the players. It had to happen to all these guys to be like, wait, so just this free agent class gets paid? Wait, the
Yeah.
Warriors get fucking Kevin Durant? Like, wait, it's happening. And the lesson in that is that we're really bad at listening. We're really good at going, oh, this actually did happen to me. And now I understand it better. That's why with this new CBA, it needs to play out. Like it needs to live for a year or two to then go, oh, this is what they were either intending to do. This is what the unintended consequence was.
Yeah, but
that's
but you and I can kind of see it already though, where it's going. I think that's the alarming part. And I think maybe it came from a good place, right? I think the owners and maybe the players too wanted to put some mechanisms in that would make it a little more likely that people would stay with their teams, the best players, right? I think that's where this comes from.
Do you think some of these aprons too, when you look at how restrictive it can get, that was like another, you know how like the Rose extension thing was like you can't have two of those guys on the same team, and you're like, oh, you know what, that was about the best players that are drafted and get that extra bump on their extension, their rookie extension. That's about making sure those guys can't all load up again like LeBron. All right, that's what that is.
I think that's what they're trying to do, but I don't think they realize how they're going to decimate the middle class. What's weird is football. I just think the football system's better, and there's some stuff. I don't love the franchise tag. It feels, like you look at the situation like Lamar in Baltimore, it just feels wrong. But for the most part, the spirit of football seemed, and I have a shitload of issues with football. But the most important thing about football is that it's really hard to lose your star quarterback. The quarterback's the most important guy on the team. He's the face of the franchise. And we just don't have movement with quarterbacks. And they're able to always like redo deals and look ahead and try to be proactive about signing somebody. And then even if it goes sideways, like it did with Lamar in Baltimore, you can still end up keeping him. In basketball, you can't rip up deals. If it goes sideways, you're going to lose the guy. And there seems to be no real connective tissue to the team and the fan base with the guy that they just watched grow into the guy. So they've tried to change some of that with how big these supermax things can be and stuff like that. But it doesn't give the team the tax relief in the way that I wish it did. Like, to me, it's like, look at Curry. Curry's been on the Warriors since 2009. And he makes a shitload of money. He makes like $60 million a year. But they get no credit for the fact that this was their guy. They drafted him. They've kept him this whole time. He stayed. Nobody gets a benefit from that. Where you think like it would be logical after like year 8 or year 9, maybe it's his contract, 2% of it doesn't count against the tax each year after year 8.
This guy,
right? And
he's like an elite
been
level
on the team for 14
watcher.
years,
You know that?
so that's 7 years, 2% per year. Now that contract, 14% of it doesn't count against the tax. Like, incentivize these guys to want to stay together.
This is like reaction content. Like,
And they're trying to do it in this roundabout way
like,
that now it's going to be 2 guys, and then the supporting cast changes year after year after year. And then we lose what we had with the Nuggets this year, or we lose with what we had with the Warriors last year, where it was like they had real connective tissue because they had these 4 or 5 guys that had been together a while. I look at a team like OKC, and I just don't know how they're going to ever build it. They're trying to build it the old-fashioned way and be smart and do the draft, and Giddey's going to be a max guy. Shea is going to be underpaid eventually. In the NFL, you'd just be like, Shea, we've ripped up your deal. You have a better deal. In the NBA, can't really do that. What if Holmgren's awesome? Jalen Williams is going to be a borderline max guy. You can't have all those guys. So I don't like when teams are smart and they get penalized for it. And basically, we've turned into this league now where it's like you just need to get your 2 guys. Just make sure you don't fuck up the 2 guys, right? Atlanta's going to be in that situation with Trae Young and DeJounte. Are those going to be your 2 guys? Because once you've decided, that's it. Those are your 2 guys.
That Atlanta
Minnesota,
thing.
Towns and Edwards. And Gobert, that's another trade that would never happen now. They could never do that Gobert trade now because now you have Towns, Gobert, and Edwards. You can't keep all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, Atlanta has, and it's not even about the Trey stuff that we talk about all the time. The DeJounte and him going to market and moving the assets and starting to understand the divide between maybe Travis Schlenk at the time being like, I don't think this is actually a great idea. Like, this doesn't make a ton of sense for us because even though it's cool now, like this could be a really bad transaction. And then it's like, it's back to the old stuff that we were talking about, joking about Antoine a little bit, but back then it was whoever your best player was just your max player. You go, all right, if I'm paying somebody $200 million, I've got to make sure that he's Steph and not Bradley Beal, right? Like our $200 million guy is awesome and guarantees us like a real chance in the playoffs. And then the other team's going, our $200 million guy puts up big numbers and we don't sniff anything. And then
think about Winger with the Wizards. Got Kuzma coming up as a free agent. You got
Porzingis as a player
who's going to opt out, and you're already paying Beal $50 million a year. And it's like, do I keep my big 3 that went 40 and 42 last year, or 38 and 44, or whatever? Is this what I'm going to lock down? And guess who gets blamed if this doesn't work? Winger.
Well, he can at least say he didn't do the Beal deal, and I still think Beal, even though you and I disagree on this one, I think there's a play there. I think there's a way to move him. Despite that contract. Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be awesome. Look, I think there's, looking at some of the CBA stuff, though, I do think that there's ways for teams, like, it's about the transactions. I felt like it was more about the transactions outside of what you've done. But if you hit on enough of your own guys and you're paying them that much, it's just going to be a different world now of filling in the gaps, the way that we've been used to it now for, like, I don't know if it's 20 years, maybe it's a little less than that. But when you had the dudes, then you knew the DiVincenzos, the Gallinaris, all of those guys. Being able to re-sign your seventh guy for still a pretty big number, you can keep them. You can keep that sixth or seventh guy for a number that's a lot bigger than you would get somewhere else. Or I should say a lot bigger than other people's sixth or seventh guys. But then it just means that all of the filling in the spaces the rest of the way, I don't know how teams are going to do it. Like, that's the part that jumps out the most, that there's all of these restrictions if you've hit on your own guys or screwed up the guys you pay.
Well, so Bruce Brown, good example. Player option this year. They're paying Jokic 46.9 and Jamal almost 34. So they're over 80 with those two.
Right, but they're lucky their two's only 80.
Right. And then they have Porter and Gordon for a combined 55 next year. So now I'm in the 135 range. And I have KCP at 14.7. So now I'm at 150. And I only have 5 guys. Now I got to figure out 29 million for my other guys. Hey, this is why we want to bring this up. We're putting on the radar now. Like, the Lakers, every Laker fan I know is like, oh, we'll re-sign Reeves and Rui. Right? Reeves he'll probably get the 98.7 from somebody or close. Rui, he's a $20 million a year guy in the old net. It's like, actually, is he? Because
the Rui is a $20 million guy now thing. How fast that changed. This is like the Fournier thing all over again. You couldn't get a first from Fournier. Then you get $72 million
guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Although the last year's not fully guaranteed, I don't believe. Rui, who all Washington could get was a second rounder for him, but then it's like, oh, he's a $20 million a year guy.
Well,
like,
here's what the Lakers
might
are
happen.
looking at.
I don't know. It seems to be a little lost.
The Lakers are at 94 for 4 guys. They have Reeves and Rui as restricted free agents, and let's just say they sign both of them, and it's a combined $42 million a year. So now we're at close to 140. They still have Lonnie Walker. They have Schroeder, D'Lo, and if there's any chance for them to get Kyrie, D'Lo has to be in that trade, and Kyrie's probably like 30. The way I see it, I don't think it's possible for them to bring back Reeves and Rui and get Kyrie. You'd have to go over the apron, and then if you go over the apron now, I can't get buyout guys. We can't get a mid-level, all the stuff we've talked about. Philly's another one. You talked about Philly on your podcast. Let's say the cost for Harden is $40 million a year. Philly's at 124.2 right now. They have Harden as a free agent. They have Niang, and they have Milton, who they'll probably let go. If they let Harden go, there actually might be some opportunity for them because they'll have some space maybe to sign and trade, do whatever. I look at Minnesota. They're at 144 right now, and Naz Reid's a free agent. I think we joked about Rui. I think Naz Reid actually might be like a $17, $18 million guy. I think Naz Reid is good. So they probably lose him. So now that Gobert trade gets worse because you've lost Walker Kessler, all those picks. You lost Vanderbilt. Now you're also losing Naz Reid. And you've created this team that has Gobert and Anthony Edwards and Towns, and you basically can't put anyone around them anymore. What happens to Jaden McDaniels in 2 years when he's a new contract guy? Are you able to keep all 4 of those guys? So yeah, that's why we're talking about this now, because I think when we get to the summer, I think people are gonna be like, wait, what's going on? The Celtics literally can't afford Grant Williams? And I think there's gonna be 10, 12 teams like that.
The other thing I think it's going to be kind of fun too is the first round picks now that are all coming due, where there's already been a little bit of it, but this group of teams, I'll defend it forever. If you can trade for Paul George and it locks you into Kawhi, even though it has not worked out, it's been a massive disappointment. It's been really expensive, and you just lost Winger, who is a terrific executive. So I think that's a slam dunk hire for the Wizards.
Me too.
But it's kind of back to my smoothing the cap environmental point. when it starts happening. Like, it's easy to trade picks. Like, the trading future picks is like the adjustable rate mortgage. We are like, well, what are the payments going to go to in like 7 years? And nobody ever says, I'll probably be doing worse.
Christ, what a
I shouldn't
fucking
sign this
plane,
mortgage.
dude.
Everybody, the way we are wired, will be like, oh, the payments are only this? For like, however. I mean, hell, you could just talk about it with credit cards. Like, no introductory, like, oh, yeah, well, things would be way better. I'll just pay that off like when I'm kicking ass a year from now, 15 months, adjustable rate. It's so easy to trade picks that you might not even be around for. But when you're going to see these teams, maybe some of these teams voted for this because they're not going to have any picks that they have to sign. So, like,
good point.
It doesn't even matter. Granted, that's such a small number of teams that that's, sort of make a joke about the whole thing. But we are heading into, like, bills being due for a lot of these teams. And that's why I think you're right that we could have, wait, that guy's available? How did that happen? It might not happen this summer. It might just be like, hey, this is going to suck. We'll take our medicine later, which is exactly the same thing as the draft pick deal, right? It's a different mechanism to improve your roster or to change your roster. But I'm glad you brought it up because when I was looking through, like, the Reeves problem the Lakers have maybe more than anything is the way his contract works. Even if they want to match, which they can, they have to backload the hell out of it. So we all love Austin Reeves. There's a number at the back end of that contract. They're like, wait, he's going to be on the books for that? So what does that mean for AD in a new contract? Where's LeBron at this point? So now Davis or
LeBron might retire.
Yeah, right. Well, he might retire.
He's, with that Denver series, he thought maybe it was time to go. Could be time.
Yeah, I'm going to need more.
He might be done.
Can you say I'm back if you never retired?
It was terrible. I've mentioned it now in my last 4 podcasts. So
You have?
Again.
I don't know.
I got madder about it as the week went along because
Really?
it's just like, just take the fucking loss. You got your ass kicked. You got swept. Jokic is the best player in the world.
There we
Just
go.
Take the
Took 2
loss
hours.
for 2 hours. Just take it.
Took 2 hours. We got there.
Golden State and the Clippers are the two that I don't know what they do next year. Maybe because you made the point, maybe these teams just take it. Golden State is at 210.6 and DDV has a 4.7 million player option that who knows, maybe he'll exercise it. But they're going to have to do some chicanery. And then the Clips at almost 202 already, really with no tradable assets that, maybe, you could try to stick more Marcus Morris on somebody. I don't know how you would. I'd like, if I'm the Spurs, I'm like, cool, I get Marcus Morris for free. I'm not cool. I still don't want him. And they have Plumlee as a free agent too, so they're gonna have no backup center. So those are the two that seem like they're gonna get hurt. And then Miami, like, is Gabe Vincent, who's like a legitimate free agent. So Strus. Are those like 8-figure-a-year guys for you now? I feel like Gabe Vincent's probably a $10 million a year guy at this point for somebody. Like, he wouldn't make sense for the Spurs. I keep bringing up the Spurs, but I'm really focused on, I want Wembanyama's team to be good right away. Gabe Vincent on the Spurs, that's nice.
Gabe Vincent at $10 million doesn't seem crazy. It's just that there the post Spo correction. Remember there was a Brad Stevens correction there for a while. It's like, wait, what happened? What happened to this guy?
Yeah, I thought Evan Turner could initiate the offense. And then Phoenix, I don't know what happens with them because they're not going to have Craig and Landale and Okogie and Biyombo, or they could potentially re-sign them. But I guess they could just eat the second apron and that's it. Maybe Ishbia doesn't care. It's like, I'm Matt Ishbia. We're fine.
I think the Ayton play is that they have to figure out a way to turn Ayton into 3 pieces. And
that is 3 cheaper pieces.
Right. Like, is there a Miles Turner play? If Ayton signed the offer sheet with the Pacers, could they bring in Miles Turner, who, along with Plumlee, were 2 of the best intensity defenders against Jokic? I'm not saying the numbers are awesome, but like I still talk about Turner against Jokic in a regular season game because I was like, man, this guy's actually like finding a way to work. And you get one of the guards that the Pacers don't see as part of their future, where you're kind of building out something, knowing that, okay, Clearly, the Suns can survive without Ayton. Now, whoever the new coach is, not being Monty Williams, you're already in a better spot than you were the year before.
Kevin Young?
Because Kevin Young. Well, just because the Ayton Williams thing was clearly like past the point of being fixed. It really appears that wasn't going into the season. It wasn't going to be fixed coming off of the Dallas loss. So they went into it where that relationship just wasn't right the whole time. So maybe the argument is, and you do this if you're Kevin Young, in the interview, you tell the owner all the players are awesome and they're all fixable and you have the plan. Like that's you don't go.
Booker, he's Booker's guy. Booker loves him. Monty Williams didn't get along with Ayton and Jay Crowder. Those were two of his best 5 players. So he's batting 60% with the most important guys in the team to get along with. By the way, did you hear some of the stuff coming out of the combine? There was slight momentum for a 3rd round of the draft, and all I could think of was how mad Hinkie would be that he's not a GM, so he couldn't stockpile 13 third rounders. He'll come back. If anything will drive him to come back, I feel like it'll be a 3rd round. I think Daryl would love the 3rd round as well. Daryl would be super excited about it. Wait, last thing on
Charlotte
this, and we'll
and
go.
Philadelphia control the 3rd round.
Chris Paul, $30.8 million next year, but he is
it's half guaranteed.
Can be bought out for half. And if you can't find a market for Ayton, that would be plan B if I'm the Suns. I got to figure out how to move this
might
Chris
be able
Paul
to do
contract. Both. Yeah, maybe you can. And maybe it's a team like Dallas. I still feel like Chris Paul has value next year for somebody who has cap space, and we've seen what happens when he goes to new teams. But I just feel like Phoenix is going to have Durant, Booker, and I have no idea who else is going to be in the team. You tell me anything. I have one last thing for you that I didn't tell you about before we go. I was thinking about Charlotte at 2 and Portland at 3, and how Scoot should be the 2nd pick because he's going to be better than Miller. And I feel comfortable. I've started my draft research. I'm not as deep into it as you are. I'm all in on Scoot. I'm planting my flag now. I think he's going to be the 2nd best guy in the draft. I'm planning it now. I just believe. I'm in. He checks all my boxes. I'm fucking in on Scoot. And I don't care that we're a guard-loaded league. I just think I'm not taking a guard in the top 3 unless I'm positive it is all NBA potential and can be like one of the best 2 guys on the title team. I think he can. And I think Charlotte, you talked about this on your pod, if Charlotte's looking at it as you did a whole lottery breakdown, if it's like, well, the fit's better with Miller. Like, you can't think that way if you're Charlotte. I don't think LaMelo's a superstar. I'm not positive he's a winning player. I'm not making my number 2 pick decisions based on we have LaMelo Ball. And I think Scoot's going to be better than LaMelo Ball. But if you're Charlotte, you have to make Portland think you're going to take Miller. Because the one thing Portland, even though I think we both agree, don't, especially with high picks where you have a chance to get an All-NBA guy, don't think about fit when you suck. Just take the best guy.
My number one thing.
Portland,
right.
If you're Portland, you have Dame, who's one of the best 15 players in the league. And if you're going to keep Dame, taking Scoot actually makes no sense. Like, literally no sense, because you can't have Dame and Simons and Scoot. It's stupid. So if you're keeping Dame, you can't take Scoot, which means that number 3 pick is going to be available unless Portland and Charlotte pick spots. But if Charlotte, and I have no idea if they have an IQ over 70 as an organization, but if they're smart, they're going to make it seem like they're taking Miller starting now. You get Portland to panic. And then if I'm another team watching this from afar, I'm like, holy shit, we might be able to get Scoot. Like, Portland's not going to take him. What's our package? So I think in a weird way, even though Wembanyama's coming to the league, and this is the most important guy we've had come in the league in 20 years, the Scoot Charlotte-Portland thing, I think is going to be really dramatic. And I think it's going to lead to a lot of dialogue and some fun fake trades. I'm here for it, Lucilla.
By the way, Joe Cronin, who's with the Trailblazers, I don't know him at all, but people do speak pretty highly of him. And I would think the attachment, especially with bringing in some new people, it's maybe not the same as it's been in the past. But it really has always been up to Dame. I mean, we're on like year 3 or 4 of this shit with Lillard, where it's all of us. And the consistent thing seems to be that he's not as upset about the situation as maybe we're just so used to anybody that's this good. And you're right, his profile, what he's capable of, the neighborhood he's lived in as a player, like eventually that guy just asks out. And what I had always been told forever was that he likes being the main attraction. He was not in a hurry to share that with somebody else, even though Portland's
To be part of a big three.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And even though Portland, I would say, is in the bottom 5 now, as far as cities that NBA guys are going like, hey, where do I want to go? Portland's pretty low, and he seems to be pretty cool with the whole thing. So I think there is, when you said, like, if the front office or whatever, if there is a group out there, the way people are talking about that front office, I'd imagine that they're not, going to just go, yeah, cool, like let's just tip our hands here on everything.
But Charlotte's the one that I think that's the one I was talking about with. I'm not convinced they're going to execute this correctly because they've shown no ability to do so really for 20 years.
Yeah, because the NJ part of it, like, I have no idea what happens there other than the end result hasn't been all that good. But the other part of the Brandon Miller thing coming off the Miles Bridges stuff, where there's still a basketball decision to be made on that. I brought this up on my pod. I have no idea if it plays into it at all. Like, if Brandon Miller and Scoot are a tie, does Scoot lose the tie because it's a positional thing, or does Brandon Miller lose the tie because of the off-the-court stuff, which I feel like some teams throughout the process are like, not great, but we're okay.
Well,
we're
have you read and heard some of the team reactions? Like, he's been, I wouldn't say forthcoming about what happened. And there's been some stuff about how he lost some weight because he was sick and doesn't seem like he's been playing basketball that much. So when we get to the workout part of this, he might actually just bomb, and I think Scoot's going to kill the workouts, and people are going to spend time with Scoot, and they're going to be like, Jesus Christ. So I think Charlotte will end up taking Scoot, but they should make Portland think they're not going to take Scoot. And we never seen teams do this ever, because Portland's going to panic if Charlotte, they have to make it seem like they're going to take Miller, because Portland's going to panic if they think Scoot's going to be there at 3, because then it's like, well, okay, now do we trade Dame? So they're going to have to do something.
Right, and is Scoot good enough? And do you do that to... This is the stuff that I think is worth bringing up. I'm not sure how much I would worry about it, but, like, imagine if you're trading Dame as Scoot falls to you, and then there's all of that on this kid who entered the G League at 17 years old. I'd argue that based on the people that know Scoot, and they all fucking love him, that he'd be like, all right, whatever. And we saw that against the Wembanyama showdowns. Granted, he got hurt in the second one.
You and I are all in on Scoot. Yeah.
The first game against Wembanyama, where he was like, I know what everybody's here for, but I'm going to make sure they recognize who I am and what I can do. And even the talk about him having a down year this year in the G League, which he did, there's just a lot. Well, I think people felt like he was coasting a little bit more, but there's the comp that I made was the Halliburton stuff. When you watch Halliburton in college, you could see that he saw things the other 9 players wouldn't even think about. Like, they were just like, what? Like, they must have watched film, his teammates have been like, what was that? Like, how did you even see that? I'm not saying like Scoot's dad or Jason Kidd, but for somebody that's so good off the ball, knowing, oh, hey, they're going to blitz me, I'm just going to dribble right past you. Oh, the guy's coming up and he's not dropping, I'm going to pull up mid-range. Yes, it looks a little Chris Paul-ish, not going to lie. There's another play where he just tries to absolutely humiliate the entire league. By the way, Kenneth Farid out there in Mexico City G League, shout out.
Oh.
Pooh Jeter, 39 years old in the G
Love
League,
that guy.
still making it happen.
Oh, Pooh's in our G League doc.
Oh, there you go. 39, still making it happen.
Big shout
Here's the thing with Scoot.
to fucking
There's a durability
the
piece to him.
man
Like, he's just got such an unbelievable athleticism
Kenneth,
and
what a
such a
fucking
body.
windy
Like,
ass name.
there's certain guys like Westbrook was like this. Where you're like, wow,
it's
that
fucking
guy.
Kenneth,
That's like an 82
30,
games a year kind of dude. I
Yes,
just
sir.
Scoot to me almost looks like Donovan Mitchell if Donovan Mitchell was just built like Saquon Barkley or something. I think he should be the second pick. And if I'm Charlotte, maybe you don't even need to do the chicanery because the Miller workout stuff is going to be kind of shaky enough that people are going to go, eh, and you can't even pretend. But if I'm them, I'm building around Scoot. And if LaMelo can fit with him, great. If not, we'll figure it out. But he's got a higher ceiling than LaMelo for me. Do you think, are we positive LaMelo's a winning player?
Oh,
As much fun as he is to watch, like, do you actually see him in a game like the one we watched last night? I don't know.
I think he's a lot of fun. He's their star, despite
He's
having
super fun.
Right. He's been hurt, but when I watch it all, it's fun. The vision is incredible, but there has to be some like real basketball growth for him.
Yeah.
You know, I think the numbers are great. I think the plays are awesome. I think he could actually play with another dude like Scoot. Like Scoot could
Me too.
initiate. LaMelo, I think, is a fun teammate. Apparently, they're both friends. But then I was told like LaMelo, everybody likes LaMelo. LaMelo likes everybody. Like he gets along with everybody. But yeah, some of that winning play shit that I always talk about, I would argue it's lacking with him, which happens with a lot of the young guys.
Wouldn't call him a good defender.
No, I just think the being lost stuff is
Yeah.
what frustrates me more. Like, it's one thing to get upright and get beat off the dribble by another NBA ball handler. Like, it's going to happen to you all the time. The simple stuff of, like, did you make it easy for them because you were just freelancing, you were completely out of position? And it was, I think, to the point where it was so bad in the beginning of his career, like, nobody was really ever talking about it. And it's just going to make it sound like you and I, because we didn't love him coming out of the draft. But now he's, like, the best version of the guy I saw in Australia that still has some of those bad habits that at this point, it hasn't mattered because they're just not even really on the radar. You know, if LaMelo were with a different team with another guy that was already established and putting up these numbers, we talk about him in a different way because he'd be held to a different standard by the basketball public. And right now, it's just still been new enough, and they stink, and he puts up huge numbers. And you know, right now,
they're huge. I think you and I are aligned on this, and then it could get spun as like, oh, you hate that guy, you're a hater. Because I feel the same way about. I think Jalen Green has been like this on Houston. It's easy to put up stats on bad teams.
King of Houston.
Man,
The King of Houston. And it's just like, just show me you can be part of a winning team. We haven't seen that yet with LaMelo. There were some moments, though, like they had a couple short stretches with him and Rozier and when Hayward was playing, when you could kind of see
Yeah, the team hasn't
something.
been good. They lose Bridges. Hayward's
no-
hurt
then
all
no
the
Bridges.
time. They went 1 year, I think, without a center. And then LaMelo has been hurt. So, if he stays I'm not knocking him because he's been hurt, but him being hurt also makes the team worse, clearly. So it's not, I don't think I don't think it should sound like you and I are trashing him. I think what we're simply talking about here is that I think there's a part of the NBA public that is shocked to think anything could be negative about LaMelo, and the only reason we're talking about it is that it's a real decision about Scoot. It's a real decision there because LaMelo's far from perfect at this point.
And he's a couple years further along on his rookie contract stuff. And, is he somebody you'd want to pay $50 million a year to in 2 years? When I don't know if he can even carry a first-round team. All right. Well, we'll see what's going to happen tomorrow night. Russillo, next time we see each other will be after Game 2 of the NBA Finals. That game will be played in either Boston, Massachusetts, or Denver, Colorado. We will see.
Enjoy Game 7.
Thank you. All right, that's it for the podcast. Thanks to Kyle Creighton. Thanks to Steve Cerruti as well. Don't forget Prestige TV. You can hear me and Fantasy. No Joanna Robinson because she's on vacation. We're going to miss her, but she's going to have a deep dive reaction a couple days later. So me and Fantasy and the Prestige TV pod, as soon as we can get it up after the Succession finale. I will see you on this feed on Monday night with my dad. Win or lose. Game 7. Go Celtics.
Feelings within. Shit, I forgot to clip it. It's fine. It wasn't that cool.
Mission ends in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Competition begins in 30 seconds.
Banana fucking bay, baby. Yo. Nah, I'm just chilling. I'm chilling, like playing the game, listening to the podcast. Yeah. No, I got scrims. Yeah, I'm just chilling. I'm in the stream. Nothing wrong with another shot. Just you and I. Oh, I did. short plane ride to the sky. Ricky, what the fuck? Bruh. Kentucky or Spain lost.
When you're on the road,
The friendship.
Yeah,
You got
my time with it as I would have liked, but you know, it is
excited to talk about Tears of the Kingdom. You know, it's on the surface doesn't look like it's going to be my kind of game, but holy cow, I've had a good time. How about you guys?
I haven't had as much time with it as I would have liked, but you know, it is just it's staggering in its scope. I mean, that might be the sort of thing I think probably as much time as I was able to put into it. You could put in way more and still not see everything.
Yeah, you know, I'm having the time of my life with this game, and oh god.
Witness the blood moon's rise.
Oh great, the blood moon.
When its red glow shines upon the land, the aimless spirits of slain monsters return to flesh. Just as they did in a war long past, the world is threatened once again.
Wow, guys, I am so excited to start this Zelda podcast. Like, I know this doesn't seem on the surface like it would be my kind of game, but let me tell you, it is my kind of game. I've had so much fun. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a blast so far. I haven't had as much time with it as I would have liked, honestly, but I think it's just so staggering in its scope that, you know, even if we spent a lot more time, I still would have that feeling, because you can't see it all.
Guys, what are you talking about? You guys already said that.
What?
You guys already said that. Then the blood moon happened, and
The
What
blood?
moon? What moon?
Oh
The fuck-
god, no!
What the fuck is Matt talking about?
Witness
It's happening-
the
it's happening
blood
again.
moon's rise. When its red glow shines upon the land.
it's. I can't. It just keeps. We're trying to start the show here, and it keeps happening.
Just as they did in a war long past. The world is threatened once again.
Wow, guys, I am so excited to do this Zelda podcast. I mean, on the surface, it does not seem like it's going to be my kind of game, but holy cow,
No,
what?
No,
What?
guys,
What?
you guys keep
Just gonna
resetting.
say how I haven't had enough time with it, and it's kind of staggering.
Yeah, it's kind of staggering in scope how big it is. I know exactly what you guys are gonna say. It's the blood moon keeps happening. You guys keep resetting.
That's ridiculous. We're not monsters. Why would we keep
Hey,
resetting?
Why would we reset?
I'm a human woman, okay? So
I think just because I'm currently snacking on a giant bone-in slab of smoked meat, that makes me a monster.
I'm not saying you guys are monsters. I'm just saying that like it's just a little weird that the blood moon keeps happening. We're trying to start the show. I'm trying to keep things moving along. Blood moon keeps happening, and now you guys are both sort of glowing a little bit of like a smoky red color.
no, I'm glowing a smoky red color because I've been picketing and I've been out in the sun a lot. That's why I got a little sunburn. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to put one apple in this giant box.
Oh God damn it! I just want to get to the end of the episode at this
Blood
point. I want to
moon's
talk about Tears of the
rise.
Kingdom. It just keeps resetting over and over again. I'm getting constantly interrupted.
When its red glow shines upon the land, the aimless spirits of slain monsters return to flesh. Just as they did in a war long past. The world is threatened once again.
Wow, guys!
You can't
I'm
believe
so
that it's a game.
excited
That
to-
you like the
Huh?
game. You
What?
can't believe it. It doesn't seem like it's a game for you. You haven't had that much time
I
with
haven't had
it.
much time with the game.
But it's so staggering in scope. Fuck this.
What? But fuck you!
Fuck
what are you
you.
talking
What
about?
Hey,
an
I'm just
asshole.
saying. No, the Blood Moon. You know what? I'm sorry. You know what? Wow. It's finally. I finally realized that all this Blood Moon stuff. Maybe I've been the monster all along. We got him.
We got him!
We got him. What the fuck?
We got him. We fuse stuff to other stuff and ascend as we play, you play The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to wrap up a pod to the cast this week on Get Played.
Welcome to Get Played, your one-stop show for good games, bad games, and every game in between. It's time to get played here on Pod to the Cast. I'm your host, Heather Ann Campbell, along with my fellow host, Nick Weiger.
That's me, Nick Weiger, and I'm here with our third host, Matt Apodaca.
Hey, listen, everyone.
We have much to discuss this week, and I know we were supposed to talk about Tears of the Kingdom, but I feel like we should dedicate a full episode to the topic everyone's talking about, Sony's Project Q.
Yeah.
Let's go!
I thought you were gonna say the Gollum game.
Look, what I'm going to say about Project Q is, one, I think we called it. I think we talked about at the end of the last year the idea that Sony might release a new handheld. So, kudos to us. Secondly, what a Sony way to do it.
Yes.
They have released a tablet computer with a broken in half DualSense strapped onto the outside of it. It is streaming only, which
Streaming
doesn't-
only over Wi-Fi.
it currently doesn't work.
Yeah.
As far, I mean, like in my experience, I can't stream my fucking PlayStation 5 to the same room, let alone like, I don't know, other Wi-Fi.
Right, but
What
if
is it?
If you were, what it is useless. But if you were, it's a $200 piece of hardware that's going to be totally useless that Heather is going to buy. But I think that it's like, you know, you're gonna get one.
I was
you know,
gonna say,
put it,
hang
it's
on,
gonna be part of
hang
your
on.
tableau.
I'm gonna buy one too.
Well, is it so that like, let's say, you know, I want to play Fortnite. Although no, because the lag is gonna suck. I want to play God of War,
Sure.
and Mary wants to watch. Mary wants to watch
Bob's Burgers.
The news.
Bob's Burgers and Fox News.
Competition begins in 30 seconds. Prepare to compete in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. Control point enabled. Move. We have captured the control point.
Los Angeles.
Incoming!
Los Angeles, India, Los Angeles train line. Nothing wrong with another short plane. You're the sky, just you and I. Lost in love. Da 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 da.
The control point is being contested. Alert. Our control point is being captured. Alert. The control point is being captured. We have lost the control point.
Nothing wrong with another show.
Control point is being contested. Mission ends in 30 seconds. Control point. Mission ends in 60 seconds. We have captured the control point.
Also, I just think like fucking Twitch is not good for TF2.
Mission ends in 10 seconds.
Is that funny?
Do not get cocky, men. Even though we have every reason to be, we are the best.
Four, three, two, one. Control point enabled. Capture the control point. The control point is being
Someday,
contested.
and nothing wrong. Nothing wrong.
The control point is being contested.
Speed, you magnificent bastard.
I'm still Los Angeles.
Alert. The control point is being contested. Alert. The control point is being contested. Alert. The control point is being captured.
Bro, he was backwards jumping in. Thanks, guys.
We have lost control point.
Same network.
And so I set up my PlayStation 5 and then streamed to the couch so that she can have the TV. Is that what it's supposed to be for? Is it a Wii U?
Yeah,
I
want to
think
play a game, but
basically.
also have to take a huge shit.
Honestly, that's probably one of its use cases. I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty. It's just so inadequate in terms of versus like a Switch or versus like a Steam Deck. It's like, or even like a fucking what's the thing? I have one. I can't remember. It's like a backbone with a phone and playing on xCloud. Like, it's like all those are better versions of this, because as far as playing something on the go, I'm basically never playing someplace with a reliable Wi-Fi.
No.
Like if I'm in like a hotel or an airport or even at like an office complex, I can't necessarily have a strong Wi-Fi for streaming that I can hop on.
It would be one thing if you could even load like one game like at a time. Like if you're like, okay, I'm playing God of War Ragnarok. I could either play as many games as I want over the Wi-Fi, or I could download one single game like at a time to it, and just have that be the handheld that plays God of War or whatever.
Right, but that bloats the hardware cost because it doesn't have the guts in there to like.
No.
What they should have done, they didn't do, obviously, and they're never gonna do. But like if they took the guts of a PS4 Pro and put it in that bad boy with like an SSD, and it's just like this is a more accessible, more affordable, approximately as powerful Steam Deck. If they kind of went in that direction. Like, now we're talking, but instead we get this, and it's not really anything.
I mean, we were talking about this a little bit in our Discord after some of us were chatting during the announcement, and some of us were speculating that because it has to compete with like a backbone and other things like that it's probably going to be similar in price point, because like you said, it doesn't have the guts inside of it to justify that high of a cost. But then I was like, well, their Pro controller is $200. Like their one that you can take, that you can like map buttons on the back to and stuff. That's a $200 controller. I don't see this being less than $200.
Have you ever priced out like a Sony Bravia TV?
No.
There's like a premium just for it being a Sony piece of electronics. So I would not be shocked if this was $200 or even $300.
Nick, I heard you pause after you said Sony piece of electronics, and I want to flag it. I just want to flag it.
Flag on the play.
Look, I just wanted them to go the PS3 route and make something huge, overpriced, extremely powerful, and very versatile, and then scale it down until it's a cell phone. And instead, we got the final iteration of what the Sony handheld is. I can't believe it can't play local anything.
Yeah.
It's a controller with the screen. That's like basically all it is. Yeah, and it's disappointing.
Yeah, if they wanted to fucking do that, even I would have been like, oh, okay. If I could toggle settings and like if there was a controller with a screen on it, I'd be down. I'd do the Dreamcast Wii U setup all over again.
Yeah.
It's just it's a disappointment. You know, it's not a disappointment that was in the news, and I'm surprised neither of you guys have touched on this. McDonald's China has announced a handheld gaming console, which is a chicken nugget that only plays Tetris, and everything I just said was true.
Yeah, no. You sent that to us in our group chat yesterday, and I think I just very flatly said this country sucks. Like, we should have fucking had that. And there should have been. We should have more than one chicken nugget game. It's ridiculous.
How have we not gotten the chicken nugget Tetris?
Yeah.
In the United States of America?
But
I'll tell you how.
Yeah.
Because we're not taxing the 1%. We're not taxing those billionaires.
No. And you know what? If we did it here in the United States, it would be edible. You'd be able to eat it.
Let's
Can you
be more
imagine
like
Tetris
China.
happening
Can
in
we
your
emulate
guts?
China, please?
Yeah. Also, I mean, the other big... I thought the Sony announcement, and this isn't this... We're not talking about Sony today. We're not talking about PlayStation. Today's Tears of the Kingdom Day.
Yes, that's right.
But I thought it was sort of wishy-washy. I didn't think it was that good of a presentation. The Spider-Man 2 stuff looked pretty good, I will say. Looked great. That's the only exclusive they had, I think, in the entire presentation. And also the Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake, Metal Gear Solid Delta. Metal Gear? It is so funny that he spends so much time hearing about it, and he's like, wait, what?
Hold on.
What the fuck are you talking about, man? This thing that I'm in, that's my entire life? Metal Gear?
Yeah, it's a thing that you, Solid Snake, have been investigating for most of your career. Solid Snake?
Who? They announced the remake finally, and as soon as the trailer started, I was like, this is Metal Gear. Wait, what if it's not? Oh God, what if it is? It is, and that was basically the track that I was on. And you know, I don't honestly know what to think about it 100%. It's you know, we've talked about it here on this show. It's one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah,
and I think it's bad that Kojima's not involved, because the reason it's good is because he did it. And it just rocks, like top to bottom. It fucking rules. So I hope they're able to do it justice. I hope they're able to do him justice, and not just put out a shitty facsimile.
Yeah, these remasters don't necessarily have to have the original team involved in order for them to work. You know, it's just a matter of and you know, there's a generation of developers who like grew up with that game or played it earlier in their careers and have an affection for it, and so hopefully that's like, those are the kind of people working on it. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Also because we're in the wake of a lot of really good remakes and remasters, and I think there's kind of now an expectation that like, you better fucking deliver. You can't get away with just, you know, kind of a lazy port that's got some you know, up-res textures and but you know, like I think they're gonna have to like go the whole way to sort of update everything and make it more modernly approachable.
Use the Resident Evil 4 remake as an example for every remake to come next, and also every video game that comes out next. That just that game is so good.
Well, okay, so we've kind of got like, you know, there was the Grand Theft Auto trilogy collection that was just like such a piece of shit, and that was just kind of like the laziest, like outsourced to a mobile company, just do this as quickly and ramshackle as possible. I hopefully this isn't that kind of, I wouldn't put it past Konami to do that, but hopefully it's not that sort of craven thing. Hopefully it is more like an RE4 or even like a Metroid Prime remaster.
I hope they do a perfect conversion, but take out all the fourth wall breaking elements, so that you're like, because that would be a way of breaking the fourth wall of a game that already broke the fourth wall.
Yeah, I hope they keep the different ways you can kill the end, because that's just fun. That's just fun. And I hope when you get to steal the Officer Raiden's uniform, then maybe we get to see his hog.
Oh no.
Just let us see it.
Oh.
Wait, am I confusing the games?
You see, well, because don't you put him in a locker to steal his uniform and his mask or something?
Are we talking 2 or 3?
I think you do it in both.
Okay.
But you play as Raiden.
Right.
I don't know. Here's the thing.
We covered this game recently.
We covered it
We should
recently.
have it not jumbled in our brains.
I mean, if you asked Kojima, he'd be like, I don't know. He's like, I did that? No, this shit sounds good. But that was the only game that I was like particularly interested in. They didn't show gameplay.
Bye.
But
over. Peace.
I don't, and